I just want to start with saying thank you to the entire team, support staff, and investigators, folks who are running, making sure that we're well fed. Thank you, Becca, for the opportunity to share. It's a joy and privilege. So my name is Amelia. I'm a branch chief in the Division of Behavioral and Social Research at the National Institute on Aging. One of the things that I do, I don't personally fund the ask me directly money, but really my role as program official is to be federal appropriation for the American people to ensure NIH mission is being met. So I also have the honor of being the PO of many studies that we'll talk about, so LS, EdCare, AdHealth, HRS, Understanding America study, Great Smoky Mountain study of rural aging, legal stuff. I think that's all. Anyway, so just to start, the talk is a little bit of potpourri, and really the intention is for this to be an overview for all of you and an advertisement. Please follow up with me in person if I don't buttonhole you or corner you somehow. Really, I just want to share some updates from us at NIH, as well as some of the resources that can help you accelerate your own research. So NIH is the largest public biomedical funder in the world, and our mission is to seek fundamental knowledge about the nature and behavior of systems, the application of that knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce illness and disability. In August 2025, our NIH director, who is NIA, previously a grantee, Dr. Jayanta Bhattacharya, published a new unified strategy. A few areas I just want to highlight for you is an emphasis on replication and reproducibility, real-world data, a platform that we'll be launching shortly, an emphasis on artificial intelligence approaches that balance personal privacy with harnessing the power of this, thinking about the omics and the multidimensional nature of the data that you all are collecting here. Lots of opportunities there. Encouraging research centered on scientifically valid, quantifiable health outcomes. So being very specific about the particular measures that you're using and how they're related to the goals of the study, and then moving towards solution-driven strategies to address health disparities. So a brief advertisement. There's currently an opportunity for public comment on the NIH-wide strategic plan. These comments are due by May 26th, so you have a couple of weeks, but really encourage your input into this. This is really going to be the roadmap for NIH in the next five years. I also want to talk a little bit briefly about the NIH Unified Funding Strategy. Again, all this information is available online, and the slides will be distributed after the fact with lots of links. One of the take-home messages with NIH is that a lot of information is available through our website, and if you have trouble navigating, I or another PO is happy to help you. One of the major changes is that NIH has moved away from a purely funding line-oriented funding strategy. And the core tenets of our new strategy are alignment with NIH's mission. So the previous slide where I shared the unified strategy, there are a series of activities, series of priorities, and making sure that it's clear how you work with those. We still prioritize scientific merit and take the peer review process incredibly seriously, but also an emphasis on integrating the breadth of topics and approaches. We're also continuing to consider investigator career stage, promoting the distribution of resources and investments across institutions and settings, and of course aligning with the amount of money that we have. So how do you find NIH funding opportunities? I know many of you probably were excited every Friday afternoon to get the NIH guide in our email box. The NIH guide is no longer the primary way that NIH communicates funding opportunities. The place you want to go now is grants.gov. And this is where funding opportunities, not just for NIH, but for other aspects of HHS are available. I also want to note that grants.gov is where you can find forecasted funding opportunities to give you a heads up so planning future applications. Another recent change at NIH that I want to share with you is the development of highlighted topics. These are an opportunity for NIH to communicate research priorities and areas of interest to the scientific community. These aren't tied to specific notices of funding opportunity, but really are meant to provide a signal and another communication tool for all of you. Again, these can be found on grants.gov. It's all on grants.gov. So I just want to shift gears a little bit and talk about NIA. We are the leader in Alzheimer's disease-related research at the National Institute of Health. I'm located within the Division of Behavioral and Social Research, but want to also acknowledge our partnerships across all of the divisions. And my counterpart, Nina Silverberg, sends her regards to all of you on the ADRC side. So while I'm here for DESR, really representing NIH as a whole, NIA as a whole, and our collaborations with one another. So the Division of Behavioral and Social Research focuses on social, behavioral, economic, and psychological research on the process of aging at the individual and population level. This incorporates a few cross-cutting themes, including integrating a life course perspective, addressing causal drivers, disparities, again, focusing on solution-oriented approaches, and a synthesis of biobehavioral and biosocial perspectives. We have a variety of pieces of infrastructure to support research on these topics, and there's a lot available on our website. As I just noted, we also have a major portfolio focusing on Alzheimer's disease-related research, everything from collecting biomarkers and population representative samples, to serving individuals and their families who are living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. So now I'm going to shift gears again and talk a little bit about some of our data sources. I'm a firm believer that the data that we collect shapes scientific questions that we answered and ultimately who benefits from research, and that should be all Americans. So our investments are guided by 5 principles. And the first is, first and foremost, always protection of our participants. These are husbands, fathers, daughters, wives, sisters, friends, they're human beings, and respect for them and for the generosity of their participation in our studies. The confidentiality is paramount. The second is that our data sets are public use to the greatest extent possible. Again, balancing this with confidentiality and disclosure risk. And we have a variety of strategies to promote this. Some data sets are available completely open access, others engage with tiered data resources, tiered data access, and as well as some virtual restricted enclaves. Third, to the greatest extent possible, these studies are longitudinal. In order to understand where you're going, you have to understand where you've been. So really emphasizing the life course perspective. As Sanjay noted, the pathology of Alzheimer's disease is set in motion decades before clinical symptoms are in place. This means we need to look across the entire life course to develop solutions. Finally, or second to ultimately, I should say, we engage with a multidisciplinary perspective. And so for me, it's a real treat as a sociologist and demographer to be here and learn more about what our colleagues at the ADRC are doing, because really these are resources that aren't just for social sciences or for neuropsychologists or for geriatricians. They're meant to be data resources that serve everyone. So that's really one of the things that's so special about this conference here. And finally, to the greatest extent possible, we want our resources to be population representative. I could say that I'm a demographer, and really one of the things I think about is the complementarity of population representative resources with these deep type cohorts that the ADRC and other academic and RAP are engaging in. And really the emphasis here, again, is that these are resources that should benefit all Americans. And in order to do that, all Americans need to be represented. So just a little bit about some of these resources. One of our major studies is the Health and Retirement Study, which is a population representative sample of Americans aged 50 and over. It's currently about 20,000 people, and new birth cohorts are added every 6 years. The prospective collection of biological, social, economic, and cognitive measures enables researchers to understand dynamics in aging processes, including Alzheimer's disease. The HRS has also served as a really critical blueprint for a series of population studies around the world. You can see in this map here, to this point, over 40 countries have an HRS similar study emphasizing population representation, including engagement with the harmonized cognitive assessment protocol, which is a tool that enables researchers to examine cognition across contexts. So harmonization doesn't mean homogenization, but enabling us to understand how factors that vary across contexts can help us to identify actionable targets. To date, HRS around the world represents about 80% of the world population, 55 and older. So I already mentioned this point, but to drive it home, we really take a true diverse lens, and part of our portfolio in this area is our suite of educational studies. And I just want to acknowledge we have investigators from AdHealth, EdShare, and WLS here. I'm not sure if anyone from Project Talent is here. But these educational cohorts really help us to drill down into understanding how early life factors, particularly those related to educational experiences, shape life course aging and cognitive health. We also have a suite of biosocial longitudinal studies spanning the full life course. Some of these are deeply phenotyped. For example, a birth cohort of births in Dunedin, New Zealand, 1972. And many of these, I want to note, also include imaging components that, again, provide bridges and complementarity with some of the resources through the ADRC and RAB. These are also supported by a suite of network activities. EdDem is not up here, but it should be, but a variety of networks to support researchers in working together to accelerate science goal. I also want to acknowledge some administrative advantages that, again, emphasize the complementarity of the survey and other measures that we're collecting. One of the most notable is our linkage program, in which researchers can access Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Service data through a secure virtual app that also supports research, provides research support. And this is completely free, and it's available whether you have NIA funding or not. A second is linkages through Social Security Administration. This includes raw variables on aspects such as earnings, disability, benefits, as well as some derived measures as well. We also have a partnership with the National Death Index through our Office of Behavioral and Social Science Research to provide information on vital status. As those of you who are field now, NDI is also really critical for population, for panel maintenance and tracking, but also provides information across all of the administrative vital statistics systems on date, location, and cause of death. And then finally, we actually have the initiator of this project in this room. I want to note some linkages with historical census data from 1940 and 1950 at the individual, family, and neighborhood contextual levels to complement, again, our survey measures and provide additional information on early life factors. So again, using a lot of different kinds of data to play systems of these well, maximizing population representation and trying to minimize burden. So Sanjay also already talked about the exposome. One resource I want to highlight is the Gateway Exposome Coordinating Center, which is really focused on bringing researchers together who are doing research on various domains within the exposome, particularly focused on understanding ADRD. A brief, I think I can read this from here, but a brief advertisement. GEC is sponsoring the Gateway Hackathon in July, which is going to focus on education's role and life course risk for non-communicable diseases. And there's some resources associated with that, so I encourage you all to consider. NACDA is another piece of infrastructure that we have to support researchers in using harmonized data across NIA-funded resources. Another tool I want to note is the NIH Mobile Toolbox, which includes a variety of validated assessments for measuring cognition across the life course, including through multimodal survey design. And I think this might be my last slide, so I'm doing okay on time. But many of us like to look at maps, and I just want to highlight the complementarity and again, like the rich set of resources that we have. This is a map of the NIA-funded awareness program, so the 30s. And you can see the distribution and concentration across the country, including up in America's Dairy Land. So ADRC, a tomography center, and a shock center. And really our intention is that these programs aren't siloed, that they're working together to create multidisciplinary solutions to help improve their health. So that's it. I know I'm just about out of time, but please come find me if you have questions. And again, happy to talk with any of you more. Thank you so much for having me. Oops.